Hey guys, welcome back to Claire and Her Books. I decided to set some reading goals for this upcoming year because I really liked some of the goals that some of my favorite booktubers were setting for themselves, and I was feeling left out. So I'm going to talk about my goals and what the plans are. How do I want to organize these? I think I will go from most vague to most specific, maybe. So the first thing is it's not exactly a goal, it's just a goal setting thing that I want to do. I do actually want to jump on the bandwagon of 25 books I want to read in 2025, mainly because my ADD mixed with the massive list of books I have saved online, I forget about some that I really want to read. Like, it doesn't matter how excited I am about them, I can still forget about them. Out of sight, out of mind. So I think having like 25 books that are kind of priority for me that I've been meaning to get to for a while, it'll be great for me to have that list every time I go to buy next month's books, just to make sure I don't accidentally forget a book for like 4 years. Okay, so I'm doing my goals a little bit differently than some people. I'm not setting monthly goals because then I feel really bad if I just have like a really crazy month outside of reading and I'm behind, and then I feel stressed because, oh, I had a streak going and then I messed up my goal. So I'm just going to do like annual goals. So for fantasy is the genre that got me started in my love for reading, and I really want to find fantasy books and series that I love so much that I fully geek out on them because I just think that's a lot of fun. So I want to read 12 adult fantasy books this year for sure, hopefully more, but that came from me having a goal of reading like one chunky adult fantasy book every month. But like I said, like sometimes you're just not in the mood for a genre. At least me, I'm very much a mood reader. So I just want to leave flexibility on like how I divide things up. But I want to get 12 done. They can be from a series. So like 3 book series still counts as 3 out of 12 because otherwise that's just going to be unrealistic for me. That's number one. I want to be more well versed in fantasy. I have read shockingly few fantasy books for how much I love fantasy, and part of that is because this last year was my first year of reading, and so I was doing a lot of exploring in other areas, but like fantasy is an anchor of my reading life. So I do want to kind of go all in on fantasy this year. I would like to get 2 series read of at least 3 books. I haven't decided if I'm going to count ones that I've already started. Yeah, no. I should definitely count ones that I've started because I've read the first book in the second half of the whole like Red Rising saga, which is 6 books. So I finished the first trilogy and I read the first book from the second trilogy. I just got the second book. They just keep getting longer and longer. And I definitely want to count reading that because that's 6 books, which will be the longest series that I've ever read, and it's my favorite series. My favorite book is in there. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna count that. Ooh, okay. I want to very intentionally explore literary fiction this year. I thought I was gonna hate that genre because it can go so right or so wrong. Like it can just be snobby and nonsensical and just like trying too hard very often. But if you've seen pretty much any video I've probably talked about If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga, that is very possibly my favorite book of all time. It's tied between that and Red Rising, but that's like, that is lit fic for sure. That is super lit fic. And I now understand why people kind of go through the bad lit fic books to find the good ones because they have such a huge impact on you that they feel very worth the struggle of reading bad lit fic books. So I want to be reading at least one literary fiction a month. The thing that makes it difficult for me to read more, as much literary fiction as I probably want to, is I really only like it. I really only like it as a physical book. I tried listening to Orbital as my last book of 2024, and while the narration was really good, and it's very easy to listen to on audiobook, like I wasn't bored or anything, but I think with literary fiction, I want to just sit in some of those sentences. It's, hitting pause and just thinking it over in your head is not the same as if you can just go back and reread that sentence and highlight it and think about it It's just a different experience. And literary fiction, I want to read slowly and really toss everything around in my brain before I move on. And that just doesn't work well for me if it's an audiobook. So all literary fiction then has to be a physical book, and I fit a lot in with audiobooks these days. So, but I have a plan. I think for audiobooks, I'm gonna do a lot of like action-packed books, more like sci-fi, YA fantasy, and nonfiction books. Just ones where it's more about like the plot or the dialogue. But yeah, the ones where it's more about the writing, I have to see the writing to really take it in, because I think I'm going to absolutely be obsessed with Orbital when I read it. I liked it as an audiobook, but I also kind of had trouble staying connected to it the whole way through. So I think that's going to be really important for me. I also want to not be so worried about the number of books. My struggle with reading has been so great that I think I just needed to find out for myself if I'm still enjoying my books, but I'm pushing myself a little bit on speed, how many books can I get read? And I think I read 70 books last year, which I never would have thought I could do in a million years. So I'm really happy that I did that, but I probably want to read less books this year. Really what it is I know Litfic is going to take a little bit longer, and I don't want to feel like you're reading too slow. I want to really absorb those fully. But I also, there are so many huge books that I have saved, and when I plan out what books I'm gonna get for the month, there are always so many that I really want to read that get cut because they're like 500 pages, and I'm sick of it. So we're gonna change it. And like Lonesome Dove, I want to read. I'm reading currently this book called Fane, and I think it's 700 something pages, but it's honestly more like 1,000 at least, because the pages are taller and wider than the average book, and the typeset is smaller than the average book. And it's like very old English and literary. So it's very slow reading. Like I think I've picked it up twice and I'm to page 15. So that's going great. But a lot of fantasy books are going to be really big, and there are some classics that I want to read that are pretty big, and I just don't want that to feel like a setback at all. So I haven't even thought of an exact number. I'll probably just say like 50, but part of me doesn't even want to set numbers goal because I don't really need it to motivate me. Like I'm gonna read as many books as I get to in a month, no matter what, because I just love it. You know what? Yeah, I think I'm just not gonna pick a number because really, who cares? Like, the only rules I want to have on my reading are more to like keep me from forgetting the ways that I want to learn and the things that I want to try. They're not because I need to like hit any certain number or like be able to say that I read this like trendy author or that I tackled this really intimidating book. Like, I don't care. It's a hobby, you know? Like, it's about learning or escaping. I use it for both, and I want to take out all the rules this year that don't have anything to do with just like laying the path that I decided I want to take for my reading tastes. And speaking of reading tastes, I heard about this thing called reading, like mapping, reading mapping, book mapping. It'd be nice if I could remember what it was called, right? But I couldn't really find any details on it. It's just people saying like, oh, I started mapping what I'm reading. And my understanding is you kind of write down the themes and the dynamics that you like or dislike about a book every time you read it. And then you kind of go and group things together according to those themes. And it helps you figure out like, oh, I am drawn to books with morally gray lead characters or books that are in a certain setting, and it kind of helps you look with a bird's eye view at what you tend to be drawn to or what surprises you, what you tend to enjoy more than you think. So I want to try to come up with some little organized way of doing that. And I think that will also help me like sit with books and process them afterwards a bit more, because sometimes my rating of a book is completely different like a week after I finish it. So I think that'll be a good little self-discovery ritual. I realize I'm going completely out of order. I'm like not paying attention to what order I say these in. Articles and interviews. I want to start reading literary magazines. I want to start looking up interviews with the authors of the books that I've just finished to see what they say about that book and kind of if I missed anything that they were trying to present to me. I was heavily influenced by reading A Little Life and then watching all the interviews and responses to it afterwards. It added a whole other layer. It made me change my view of the book. And also, like, it just gives you confidence in how you speak about a book. But I think if I do this, I will be learning so much more about every single book that I read. And I mean, that's the whole point. So there's a way to enhance it. And I also just want to be aware of things that are happening in the literary world. I do want to start paying attention to book prizes. I think they're kind of like movies where it's largely political and people pleasing anyways, but there are really, really good books that end up on those lists anyways, and it's just kind of a way to discover more books and keep an eye on them, and also just see what is influencing the book industry at the moment. If you have any magazine or website recommendations, I need to put this pen down. LitHub is one that I look at a lot right now. I know that one's super popular. I don't know that many places to get news like that, so please leave any recommendations that you have, or like even Instagram accounts or YouTube accounts. This next one I'm actually so excited for. I want to start reading philosophy. I haven't tried at all, but I have Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. And I love watching YouTube videos where people are talking about the philosophy books that they've read and kind of how that's changed how they think about things. Like, I'm very introspective, so I think really it's just been intimidation that has kept me from trying philosophy before. I mean, I wasn't even reading before, so philosophy was going to take me a while to work up to, but we're there. And I read the first, it's like super short little, not really chapters, essays, blurbs, I don't know. Anyways, they're like 5-6 pages each. The first one is on the use of time. I did not ever expect philosophy to be talking about regular daily stuff like time management. I really didn't. And it's all over the place. There are so many different things that are addressed in here. But this first one, I was upset I didn't have my highlighter. I loved it. It did not feel like homework or a book that I should be reading to learn. Like, it was loads of fun for me. So I'm pretty pumped. Like, what if this is a year that I turn into a philosophy girl? Everybody in my life would be shocked. Practical but boring goal. Read my physical TBR. I had it down by quite a bit, and then I don't even know what happened. I actually don't know what happened. Oh yeah, I kept ordering books for the next month, but then I would be in a funk and didn't want to finish a couple of the ones that I had, so I'd push them off. So there's just like, it's backed up is basically it. It's backed up. I think I've got like 20 books here that I haven't read yet. So I probably need to be trying to read one of those every month, at least. The last one, it's really specific, and I probably shouldn't even set it as a goal because it's not that big of a deal. But again, it's mainly so I don't forget. I would like to read some books set in Russia. So when I was little, I used to look through the encyclopedias and just look at all the pictures, and I was obsessed with geography. And Russia is one of the first places I ever wanted to go. I was just obsessed with the architecture and the music and the language. Like, I love the language a lot. So I don't know. I just think it'd be fun. I mean, I don't even know what A Gentleman in Moscow is about, but it's coming from Libby in a couple of weeks because I just want to listen to it because it has Moscow in the title, and I know it's a well-loved book, but you get my drift. That's just a super fun one. I wanted to have like one very, very specific one just for the heck of it. That's really it. Oh, you know what? No, one other one, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I am trying to move to Austin this year, and I really want to find a book club, like an in-person book club, to join when I'm there. So that's a goal that I can't really do anything about now, except go on Instagram and stalk book clubs, and hopefully have a couple that I want to check out when I get there. That is it for goals. Today I'm going to sit down and I'm going to try to narrow down my book wish list for 25 books I want to read in 2025, which is going to be so fun. And I'm finishing I'm finishing 2 Fonda Lee books today. And one, it's short, but I have not been enjoying it, so it's felt very long. And the other one is a 28-hour audiobook. So that's gonna feel like massive. And I get to start 2 new books today. But that's it for today, guys. I hope everyone's safe. I hope everyone's good. I hope y'all like the book that you're reading right now. I'll see you in the next video.